Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. Thanks for coming back to HR Empowerment. Today, we are here to interview the Chief Dream Officer. So we'll introduce you to her in a second. I also want to welcome back my co-host, JC.
Wendy Sellers,
Hey,
the HR lady. It is such a pleasure to see your face yet again. It's great to be back. How you been?
You know what? It has been one heck of a year already in the HR space. Like, things are just going crazy. And I can't believe, like, we're already through most of the year. So at one side of me says, okay, let's just get this year over with and keep going at the speed it is. But the other side of me says, we need some help for businesses. And we have so many businesses that are opening on a regular basis and don't know how to, even interview, never mind inspire employees. So I want to talk about inspiring big dreams with our guest today, Melissa Severance. Hey, Melissa.
Hi, Wendy. Hi, JC. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited I know it's going to be a fruitful and fun conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are the Chief Dream Officer at Inspire Big Dreams. Tell our listeners, about yourself and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, my name's Melissa Severance. I own a company called Inspire Big Dreams, and I named it that because I knew I wanted to help people get where they wanted to go after them big dreams. A lot of people have these dreams, but they just don't take action. So I know we need to have some extra support in all different areas. So I help with executive leadership coaching, corporate training, HR consulting, anything that's really going to push people to that next level and take the steps they need to make their dreams come true. How I started, wow. I think I'm a person that loves to do a lot of things. I started out in accounting, which is so surprising to me because it's really not something I really love to do ever. But I was really good at numbers. But I realized when I went and worked at a public accounting firm that I love being around people. So I decided to change gears and go be in HR. And then from there, it kind of opened my eyes to all the different ways we can help professionals dream bigger, go after things, support them, mentor, guide, and be there for professionals as they go through their journey to grow and learn.
Right. And that's regardless if they're individual contributors or managers, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I work for some individual entrepreneurs, and I also work for big companies, small, medium, large, all industries, because I do think leadership development kind of translates across everyone. We all need to kind of bring that leadership to the next level, self-leadership, and then leadership to others.
I love it. There's this statistic from Gartner, and it says that only 10% of HR leaders say their organization effectively prepares employees for your future roles, highlighting a critical gap where coaching and strategic development can create a lasting impact. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I totally agree. We're not putting enough time in upskilling our professionals. The workforce is changing so drastically. AI has come into play. We need people to stretch into other roles because the roles they're in right now are not really going to be there in the future. So a lot of the things I'm doing in my area where I live in Southwest Florida is upskilling professionals through training and leadership development. It's so needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I mean, that's what I, pretty much focus on my daily life on at this point is making sure that managers become leaders, not just, hey, I'm in charge, do as I say. I think JC has some things he wants to add to this.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, that's a very, very strong and critical point. Turning the manager into a leader. Only 28% of employees strongly agree that their manager helps them grow and develop. It does underscore the urgent need to shift managers from task supervisors to true leaders. But that doesn't happen necessarily overnight unless the person has that indelible X factor, as they say, right? So, Ms. Melissa, how do we turn a manager into a leader in one sentence? Quick reply. What do you got?
Wow, quick reply. Learning and growing and empowerment. I think they're the three things if I had to do it in one sentence. Is that good? How's
You
that?
don't have to do it one sentence.
Oh, I thought it was as simple as stop by inspirebigdreams.com, but that's fine. It's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So to elaborate a little bit more on my, quick sentence answer, I do think it's a combination of a lot of things. It's learning on the job. It's coaching from leaders and maybe from an external coach. It's also specialized training. We need to be visionaries and we need to think about the future and think a big picture, not just what's right in front of us. And we also need to make small steps all the time to kind of be that better leader and know we're going to mess up and fail sometimes. And we're going to have to say sorry and try again and do better the next time.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought that up about the failing part. I was just talking about this yesterday to a few people. Yes, on the weekend, I was discussing work because I'm very passionate about what I do. But I think it's important as a leader, regardless of what your role is, because I also am very firm in my thoughts that you do not have to be a manager to be a leader. You can lead from where you're at. And on the opposite side there, not all managers are leaders, unfortunately, but they should be in order to be in a management role. But with that said, I think it's important to let people make mistakes. Hopefully they're nothing life-threatening or something that's so bad that it's going to take the company down, but it's okay to make mistakes. That's how we grow. That's how we go, oh, I don't want that to happen again. Let's change our practices, our procedures, whatever it might be. So what are your thoughts on that in the opportunities that mistakes actually give us?
Yeah, there's companies that celebrate mistakes, right? Because that's us giving something a shot. That's trying to innovate. That's trying to transform. I think we need to be like that. Of course, there's some things that, we have to get right the first time, right? Some things so critical, maybe, in healthcare and different things like that when it's life or death. But in most things, we can probably give people latitude to try and fail and give extra time for deadlines so we can refix things. We can enhance it together with them and support them as, the next time when they do get it right.
Oh,
love it. Thank you.
But
go ahead, JC.
Only fail a little bit. I mean, we still have KPIs and money to make, right? I mean,
absolutely. And I don't think anybody wants to fail really big like that, right? Everybody wants to do their best. If they're trying something new, I think they're going to do their best to try to do it.
So let me spin it to you this way. There is that breakdown, that differential between operations and HR. There's some say it's a long, heated battle that goes back to Roman times. Others say it's made up and fictional. But at the end of the day, those are some of the true concerns. When HR pulls the brakes or an outside consultant is pushing in and advising, we need to slow down and give time for some of these errors to take place. So they're like, we don't have time. How do you bridge that gap from the leadership perspective as well?
Yeah, I think I'm going to, what I try to do is show what they're losing, the impact they're losing, because we're not getting fresh ideas. We're not getting transformation. People aren't raising their hand to do things because they know if they do it wrong, they're not going to get another shot. We need to be a company that is okay with that because we'll see so much more favorable successes and new inventions and new ideas that's going to transform that company if we allow them to fail and give a little bit more time. It's going to be worth it.
I love it. And for those that are listening, please make sure you check on the website, auroratrainingadvantage.com, about a few upcoming trainings that could be related to these items of mistakes. One of them in late June is mastering critical conversations. And another one also in late June is investigating complaints entangled with performance related issues, which again, I love that, Melissa, you're saying, companies celebrate mistakes because we all do it. That's how we learn to not do that again, is to make a major painful mistake. And I also want to, let the managers and the leaders know that, again, mistakes are okay. It's how you act and react to them that really does matter. All right, I want to shift gears here a little bit more and continue, I should say, talking about, igniting coaching cultures. Can anyone be a coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a reverse mentorship. We can all be coached by each other. Coaching doesn't have to be an expert. It's somebody helping somebody else get to their potential, helping them think, helping them reflect, listen, supporting them. So I do think anybody can be a coach to anybody else.
Yeah, I think so too. But I want everyone listening today, don't just going back into your office tomorrow saying, all right, you're a coach, you're a coach, you're a coach. Because while anybody can be a coach, just like anyone can be a manager, not everybody has the knowledge, skills, and abilities for it. No, but not everybody has the desire for it.
Exactly.
There's also things such as mentoring versus coaching. And not everybody, even if they want to be, is qualified to be a manager, right, Melissa?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, some people are better to be solo entrepreneurs or contributors to the organization because that's what they're really good at, and maybe they don't want to manage people or take the extra time and effort that's needed.
Or promoted to customer and let go. Right.
Yeah.
No, no. Well, maybe.
Promoted to customer.
It could be, depending on your company culture.
Yeah.
Just remember, though, feedback is so important. I firmly believe we do not give employees enough feedback throughout the year. I was doing a training earlier today, and I was kind of joking because I'm like, I know you just heard me say 700 times that people need ongoing feedback, but that once a year review, I feel like it should just be flushed down the toilet, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, why are you waiting 364 days or 180 days or 90 days or even 20 days to tell someone, hey, you did a great job, or the opposite, no, you didn't? Because if you're waiting that long, you're missing so many opportunities. I actually have a statistic here from Gallup that says only 26% of employees strongly agree that the feedback they receive helps them actually do their job better. And so that's, the continuous coaching style of conversations is still, lacking in most organizations. What are your thoughts on that, Melissa? You're the expert on coaching.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think we have to coach properly. Everybody can be a coach. I do believe that, but you have to get the experience and expertise and the training. I went to ICF and got certified. I do think it's about a lot of powerful questions, but your approach, your style is going to matter. So if you're not doing it in the right way, you're not going to be able to get the feedback correctly and have them be able to get over their obstacles and do better. So there is finesse around it. Style is very important. Being there, not just having it be a one-time feedback exercise, of course, too, is very important.
I'm a small business kind of guy. What's IFC or UFC? You were in the UFC? What'd you say?
ICF. So it's the International Certification of Foundation of oh my God. Today I'm going.
International Coaching Foundation. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think we need some structure. We need, training to really do coaching correctly. So I do think, it's time to go to experts for certain things, but I think leaders have some coaching abilities and they can start doing some of the great practices of coaching. But when it gets to a point where somebody needs professional help, you kind of, like everyone else, you go to the next level with something and maybe external resources.
Yeah. By the way, congratulations on getting that coaching certification from ICF, because that is very difficult and time consuming to get. And so, give yourself a pat on the back there.
Thanks.
I'm proud of you on behalf of everybody that tried to do it.
She may as well have been in the UFC or whatever that is. You go through so much. Ooh, so much.
I do want to ask you a little bit more, what's the most important shift, though, an organization as a whole needs to make in order to move from the sporadic coaching to true coaching mindsets?
Yeah, I think we have to bring some experts in to train. I do come in and kind of give a landscape of what a coaching culture would actually be. I think we have to bring it into our rhythm of our habits within the workplace. So having some coaching sessions, maybe, every 2 weeks with, a professional, we have to make it a priority. That's the only way it's really going to become part of the culture.
Yeah. And without it feeling like it's just another meeting on the calendar, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. And when you're doing a coaching conversation, you are not giving answers, you're not giving advice. That's like your leader, mentor hat. You're actually helping them figure out and be empowered to find the solutions, and you're just guiding them along the way. It's a totally different conversation. It's about that person, about what they want to talk about. So it feels different. It's not you're going through the agenda like normal check-ins.
Yeah, absolutely. Where you're kind of in charge. It's more like guiding them on. Again,
Yeah.
Listeners, coaching is not for everyone, meaning not everybody is good at being a coach. But I do agree with you, Melissa. Every manager, every supervisor, every team lead, they should have some kind of basics of coaching. And you already said it. It's listening is a huge part of that. It's not, hey, I'm just going to give you all this information and shove it down your throat. It's listening to the employee or whoever your coach other half happens to be. Talk to me about mindfulness facilitation and performance coaching.
Yeah. So I definitely think we need to be in the present moment more. And that's where mindfulness comes in. I put it in my training, in my coaching. There's reflection and journaling and just certain kind of questioning that kind of gets us to a point where we're really kind of being in the present moment, being there, trying to figure things out. You know how sometimes you just can't get an answer or you're stuck. I think mindfulness can bring you back to the right solution there. And that's what we need to do. So I do, really bring in different, creative techniques for mindfulness. So it's not just breathing and meditation, which I love doing, don't get me wrong, but I do think we can do it in a lot of different ways.
What's the difference between mindfulness facilitating and performance coaching?
Yeah. So I think mindfulness is trying to get you in the present moment and kind of keep you there. And then I think performance is you're really focused on a certain goal and a certain activity to kind of bring your performance to the next level. I think they're both needed in different ways. And I think if you're not present and intentional in your activities, you're not going to have great performance. So they are both needed, and you need to combine them together to really have the most success.
Leaders who practice mindfulness, they report a 31% increase in their ability to manage workplace stress. And that leads to a more resilient and effective form of leadership. Back to you.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I could see how trying to get people, maybe pull them out of the past, right? Like stop talking about remember back then, remember then, or you did this, or you did that, or my coworker did something, a year ago. Okay, let's talk about what we're doing here. Melissa, I'm thinking these things could help at home too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think it translates. So I do think you're the same at work and at home personally. So, things are going to set you off the same kind of way. Maybe you do a little bit better, to keep them under cover a little bit in the workplace, but I do think it would help tremendously at home.
Absolutely. Can you walk us through like a real world example, no names, please, where your coaching directly transformed the team into the team's, improved performance?
Yeah. Yeah. One of my clients, had a lot of change, all new players come in, and then we had a lot of players that were there for 20, 30 years. And I think we had to, integrate both of them together and kind of understand that we have to make a new path forward for all of us together. A lot of it's relationship building, communication. There was a lot of conflicts happening because some people wanted to keep it the old way and some people wanted the new way. Kind of understand change management. So it's when you're doing a whole team coaching approach, there's a lot of observation, trying different activities, trying to get the team really comfortable, and maybe doing exercises to see, there is a philosophy and book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. I hate the name of it. I think it should be called High Performing Teams, but it's a way to figure out anything that's broken or that needs to be enhanced. And it all comes down to building trust. And I think that's what we need, is to build trust on team for everybody to really go to the next level together.
In that future novel, High Performing Teams by Melissa Severance, and we think about this topic right here. I know you mentioned a few things. We talked a little bit there about games. I don't know what kind of games you're talking about. I'm a little curious. But also, what are some of those ingredients? Like, you mentioned a few, but I want to get a little more granular on this one with you. Transforming that leader or team's performance. What games are we playing? And what are the ingredients to shift that needle from A to B? What are we doing?
Yeah. Well, hey, I think all activities can be games and fun. I think we need to connect with our people, maybe not true games, but I do have a lot of fun team building activities, because I do think we need to bring everybody together sometime, but it's more than just games. It's, having them tough conversations, understanding why the trust is broken, understanding why you're not leaning on this person, you're not collaborating.
I could tell you why, because one of the games you had us play, we blindfolded each other. I fell backwards and I hit the floor, right? I mean, come on.
You need to make sure you're trusting your people so you don't fall on your face, right?
I'm just too heavy and they're weak. Work with me here. Work with me.
Some people do that. I've done that when I got my coaching certification. We brought in some of these activities because they do work. They do bring people together, and we need to have some fun, I think, in the workplace as well too.
Yeah.
But it's about forming trust. All these different relationship building brings stronger connections. So when you have them tough conversations or you need something, people will say yes to you much easier, and it won't be as hard anymore.
Wendy and I were talking about this not long ago because it's that parlay between some of the games or some of the discussions, and also how it translates a little. What were you saying, Wendy, about like boosting engagement and stuff? It was something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the bottom line is like I just got back from doing a 3-day training out of state, and I think everybody laughed at me when I pulled it out of my bag. But I have this leader thumb ball. It's like I don't know if you know what that is, but it's this ball and little ball that that you throw at people. You don't throw it at people. You toss it to the attendees, and wherever their thumb lands, they have to read what's on there. And so it's really cool because we got some really interesting conversations. So for example, like one of the thumb ball where your finger might land is like, what are you doing to develop the skills and abilities of the people you manage? And then it opens up a whole conversation. So those kind of games, I think, is what you referred to, JC. But get creative, folks. When you are, having your team together, you can have some fun. It breaks the ice, especially during stressful times, which it seems to be every day is stressful recently, and has been for quite some time. Have some fun with your employees. Then when they let their guard down, that's when you might be able to get to know the real them and say, oh, okay, I didn't know about their personality style, their personality trait, or what their dreams and wishes were, and how can we help that. Not everybody's going to go right to their HR department or their manager and say, hey, I don't want to do this in the future, or I do want to, have my career go this way. They're not going to do that until you're like friends with them. What are your thoughts on that in a coaching aspect?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I do think, stay interviews are kind of coaching conversations. I don't know if you, I'm sure a lot of people on the listening, I guess I should say, in the HR arena know about stay interviews. It's really kind of another pathway of asking questions to really know about how that person enjoys work, what work they enjoy, and how can they help them grow. Asking these questions, and some of them are even asking, when's the last time that you started going on Indeed and looking for a job? We need to know really what's going on inside their head so we can really help them to be engaged, to enjoy coming to work, and being challenged and empowered.
Right. And now I also wanted to say, not everybody wants to be challenged, right? Even though we do want to challenge them because we want them to be with the company as long as possible. We want them to learn new skills. We want to be hiring below them, not necessarily above them. But please, 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 before forcing anybody into supervisory roles or management roles, make sure you do an assessment of them and find out if they actually want to do that or not. Now, people may say, yes, I want that just because of the money, or they may say, no, I don't want to be a manager or a supervisor because it's too stressful. But if you then explain, oh, well, we have a training program, we have a development program, we have a coach, we have these resources, they may then go, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, let me check it out. Even do something like an interim supervisor or manager if you needed to, so they can say, I put my toe in the water and I'm back out.
Yeah. And I love all that. I wish every company had all those resources. Most times people are promoted without any assistance and they're figuring it out on their own. And then later on, Wendy or I or somebody else will come in and have to clean up kind of the mess and do a lot of training, coaching, and support because of that. So, companies that have that structured already in or bringing people in, I applaud you guys because that's what we need to do.
Absolutely. What's one coaching exercise or tool you'd recommend for our listeners, especially those who are managers, that they can try this week to boost engagement and accountability on their team?
Yeah. I was talking about these stay interviews. I do think you can do them in check-ins. So next time you have a check-in, ask some questions about, hey, what's your favorite thing to do at work? What's challenging right now for you? What resource do you need that would make your job easier? How can I do more for you? Asking questions like this, it doesn't have to be a full session of all these questions. I tell people that you can just have a few each time you have a check-in. This is just forming that relationship and learning a little bit more, because if you only do stay interviews or something along those lines once a year, there's all this time going by that you're going to miss out on information.
Yeah.
Melissa, you literally personally helped take an entrepreneurial consulting firm from 100 to over 1,000 people nationwide, the entire nation.
I know. Amazing stuff, right?
No, it's bigger than amazing. It was big, very big, the biggest, very bigly. Look, what were the one or two HR moves that you made early on that set the stage for that explosive growth?
Yeah, I think it was our hiring. We had to make sure we were hiring correctly. So we did behavioral interview training and making sure that all of our hiring managers were hiring the best people that want to come on board and do the work that we really wanted to do. Because I think that's the biggest problem. You don't have the right people in the door, and we're, turning them over and rehiring and spending a lot of money. And, that's not fun. So I definitely think the hiring piece of the puzzle is really important. And then flexibility. Sometimes when it was an accounting consulting firm, which is flexibility is really hard, but we had people that were able to live at different places in the world and travel for us. So we found people that were open to that. So that made it flexible for them. We gave, when people did go over and beyond, which they had to a lot, different bonuses, different things like that. We gave a lot of wellness. I think we just had a lot of different things that we gave to people to keep them in the door, make them happy, and, want to stay with us long term.
With accountants. Accountants are not flexible. You can't ask an accountant to be flexible really on the spreadsheet. Okay.
Maybe not on the spreadsheet, but we found people that were, flexible in other ways, right?
That's awesome. There's a information provided by Gallup that says a 1% improvement in employee retention can reduce turnover costs up to 10%, showing how even small HR interventions or, properly interviewing and properly hiring the right people can drive a significant financial impact. And it is costly to recruit, especially now in 2025. It is so costly to recruit. So folks, some advice that I would give you as the HR lady is to make sure when you are recruiting that you treat it like a project. Right? You have scorecards, you have, pre-vetted out interview questions. And you train your hiring team what they can and cannot ask.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, on the HR side, that's extremely important.
Absolutely. All right. I have one more thing that I wanted to ask you here. Looking ahead, what's the biggest blind spot you see in how most organizations approach coaching, training, and development, or if you have them all grouped into one department, and how they can start to correct that? So what's the biggest blind spot you see organizations have?
I don't think they're proactive with a lot of the training and coaching. I think they wait until there's an issue to bring us in. So I do think, making it a regular activity of having these training sessions on different topics, even before it might be needed. If it's needed for some, it's going to be needed for the other. I think, I have some clients now that are bringing me in for programs, and they're having me in for a few months, a little break, a few months. I think it needs to be evergreen, the way we train and coach, because we're going to have different things that are going to pop up, and we're not going to be ready for them. But if we're in the moment, we're collaborating, we're all in a session together, these are going to come out, and we're going to be able to fix them together.
Organizations that offer regular learning opportunities, they're 92% more likely to innovate. It shows that consistent training fuels both employee growth and business agility. And believe it or not, only 25% of employees strongly agreed that their organization's training improves their performance. And that reveals a major disconnect between learning programs and real-world impact. Those numbers are on two ends of the spectrum. Melissa, talk to me. Yeah. We have to bridge gaps here.
Yeah, and I think we have to train in different ways. I think they're used to the person just going up there and speaking the whole time. Like, I'm doing activities, being in pairs and groups, projects they're coming in and presenting at my sessions. And I'm sure Wendy has just as much interaction and maybe even more. She's been doing this way longer than me. And, we need to bring out different tricks, and we have to make it exciting and compelling. Some people like videos. You can't just be a whole day of anything normal that we used to be back in the old days. And learning on the job is important too. So you have to have all these different components in play.
Yeah, I just looked up statistics today, and actually, I think I have an article scheduled on LinkedIn about learning and development programs. They rarely are successful, and they're usually somebody asked why. There was a conversation on LinkedIn, and I said because they're usually boring. They're boring. They're not interactive, and they do not affect the day-to-day life of the person that's in the training program. And so, I was just recently at an in-person training, and for a public organization, and they came right in the middle of the training. The CEO stood up and said, we have had so many training programs and we all just agreed that this is the only one that's actually going to change something in this organization. So we're going to need you to come back. I was so honored, but I knew what he meant because it's usually somebody just standing up there talking head and, oh, do this, do that. It's like, no, get them to do it here so that if they screw up, we can fix it in the training program. And then going back to the mistakes conversation we had earlier, Melissa, of making sure people know that it's okay to make mistakes, but we gotta talk about it and not blame people or pointing that finger at them. So this has been so amazing. Thank you so much. Hey, how can our listeners connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm on all the social channels, Melissa Severance, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. My email is Melissa at Inspire Big Dreams, and inspirebigdreams.com is how you can get in touch with me. So please reach out. You can drop me a DM. Love
Absolutely. We'll make sure that we have your website listed in the podcast overview. As a reminder, Aurora Training Advantage subscribers can earn HRCI and SHRM credits for listening to this podcast on the HR Empowerment website. So you just have to go to auroratrainingadvantage.com and find the podcast link. And you do not need to be a paid member, just a subscriber. So go check that out. JC, any final words?
This was awesome.
I agree.
I want to play games and learn things now,
Yeah. And for those people that are interested, the name of that ball that I was talking about is literally called Thumb Balls. And they have everything from debriefing, conflict resolution, end of day review, leadership, you name it. And I think it's just so fun and helpful to get people like having a little bit of conversation. Thumb ball, it's where your thumb lands on the ball. So
I'm going to buy them.
Yeah, absolutely. I have several. I carry them with me, and people are like, "She's weird." I'm like, "Wait till you have this." So, hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We hope this information has been helpful. Thanks for joining us, and take care.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.